recording now. My name is RJ Panesi. I work here in our Career and Professional Development office at WGU, specifically on the employee relations side, where we try to connect employers to our students and alumni, and then vice versa. So we welcome everybody that is joining us wherever you are calling in from. Just a reminder, like I said, this session will be recorded, and this session it'll be emailed out to everyone later on this afternoon. So keep an eye out for that, and then attached to that recording is a questionnaire. We value your opinion as students and alumni here at WGU, so we certainly want your feedback. So if you could take the time to fill that out, we would very much appreciate it. It should take you no more than 2 minutes, just a couple questions looking for your feedback, but also anything that's covered during the session that maybe you want to go back and double check. You can certainly do that by going back and watching the recording. This is actually our final session of Career Quest, so if you have joined us with another session previously for Career Quest, hopefully you found some great value in attending that session, whether it was with an employer or a workshop that one of our career advisors put on. Hopefully you were able to get some great information. But like I said, this is our final one. We'll have another Career Quest coming up in April. So if you are interested in attending those virtual sessions, keep an eye out for that communication. And from here, what I will do is I will pass it over to Dalton. Dalton, welcome.
Awesome. Thank you so much, RJ. And hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today. Rachel and I are excited to tell you more about Your Part-Time Controller, or YPTC for short, and a little about nonprofit accounting in general as well. And RJ mentioned that WGU students are all over the place. Well, we're all over the place at YPTC too. One thing that I'll go into a little bit more detail about later on, we are now active in 48 states and have staff in 48 states. So, mixed bag for us as well. To introduce myself, my name is Dalton, and I'm a recruiter on the talent acquisition team here at YPTC. I've been with the company for about 2 years now, and prior to this role, I worked in college admissions. I head up YPTC's college partnerships, so I'll be your point of contact from here on out if you have any questions about YPTC, and I'll also be sharing my contact information after the presentation is over. Now, I'm joined today by my colleague, Rachel.
Hi, I'm Rachel, and I'm an associate here at YPTC. And at the associate level, that means I pretty much act as the controller for my clients. I've also been with YPTC almost 2 years, and coincidentally, Dalton and I started on the same day and we're in the same orientation class. I am physically located outside of Detroit, and I am part of our company's remote services organization. We have 10 offices where people work out of, but we also have a pretty big remote services organization, which means that I am completely virtual, and my clients are could be located anywhere, really. And I personally have clients that are in Ohio, Mississippi, and one, by complete coincidence, is in Michigan. It's about 2 hours away from me. And then one of mine is actually an association that has no offices. They're just run by people over the country.
Fantastic. Thank you, Rachel. Now, before we jump into what opportunities look like at YPTC, I want to give you all some general background information. Our company started out over 3 decades ago here in Philadelphia, where I'm calling you from today, with just one man providing accounting services for one nonprofit organization at his kitchen table. Fast forward to today, 31 years later, and we now have over 650 accounting professionals and support staff providing financial services to over 1,700 clients nationwide, with over 95% of these clients being nonprofit organizations. As I mentioned a couple minutes ago, we have staff and clients in 48 states and counting, as well as now it's up to 11 regional offices. We actually just opened up new offices in LA and soon one in Raleigh, North Carolina as well. Now, we can accomplish all of this by utilizing what we call the YPTC Anywhere style of business, which gives each staff member the opportunity to work remotely or from client offices nationwide. The accounting services we provide range from day-to-day transactional accounting all the way up to high-level budgeting, strategy, technology advising, FP&A, audit prep, you name it. Two big exceptions: we don't do tax accounting for our clients, and we don't actually conduct financial audits ourselves. We leave those to the public accounting firms. And hey, that means no busy tax season for our staff.
As Dalton mentioned, we have over 1,700 clients nationwide, and most of our clients are nonprofits. We have a couple of for-profit clients that have basically begged us to do work for them, but for the most part, our clients are nonprofits, and they really run the full range of what you might think of as a nonprofit: social services and charitable organizations, arts foundations, senior living centers, religious organizations, schools, museums, environmental organizations, and so on and so on. Most of our clients are small to medium sized. Most of them fall within the range of having a budget, an annual budget of from $100,000 to $1 million a year. But we do have some that are less than $100,000, all the way up to national billion-dollar plus organizations. Um, we have a sample here on the slide, but one of the things I really love about my job is that my clients are doing things to make the world a better place. One of my clients provides housing and recovery services for women who, either low income women or women who've been victims of human trafficking. I have an arts and cultural organization in the rural South, and this organization, among other things, has an agriculture program. They're located in an area that historically has been very agriculturally oriented, but with big farming and everything, a lot of the people who live there have lost those skills. So they have an apprenticeship program and train people to grow food to meet the needs of their local population, which is a pretty cool thing to do. They're bringing it back to their community. So, what my clients do make the job meaningful to me.
Absolutely. Thank you, Rachel. And it's also worth noting that YPTC has been recognized on both the local and national stages for our commitment to our staff. So YPTC has consistently been voted as a best place to work in independent surveys, both locally and nationally. We've also received a lot of recognition from Accounting Today over the past few years. So in both 2021 and 2023, we were named one of the top 10 best accounting firms to work for. And then for the past 2 years, 2022 and 2023, we have been both the fifth fastest growing accounting firm nationwide, as well as one of the top 100 firms in the US. As you can see, we have also been recognized by such locales as Philadelphia, Rochester, Washington, D.C., and more for local staff satisfaction awards as well. And I think overall, we're really proud of the positive impression we're making on the accounting industry. Unfortunately, work-life balance can be a problem in the accounting world. I'm sure that's no secret to all of you. So again, we're very proud of that, and we intend to keep the accolades and awards coming. I do want to come back to something I mentioned a moment ago, which is our rapid growth, especially over the past few years. Now, I mentioned previously, we've been a top 100 firm for 2 years running. Currently, we're ranked number 75 until the new rankings come out in a couple of months. And that number 5 fastest growing firm nationwide, that's an interesting one too, because technically we are the fastest organically growing accounting firm in the country. The other 4 that are above us in these rankings are doing so by making mergers and acquisitions. So within the accounting industry, our revenue is growing faster than any other company. As I mentioned earlier, we are expanding into international markets as well as opening new offices within the US. And remember, as we continue to grow, we'll always be on the lookout for talented new accounting professionals to join us. And I do want to add that, we attribute the growth of YPTC to many different factors, but I think the greatest of them is the simple idea that our mission is to help nonprofit organizations fulfill their missions, plain and simple, but rewarding. And while we're really excited to keep growing at such a rapid rate, we also make sure not to lose sight of our mission, because it's what fosters the positive and supportive culture that attracted us to YPTC in the first place. Now, at the same time, another one of our reasons for continued success is that we stay ahead of the curve with financial technology. So our data visualization group, for example, or DVG as we call it, provides customized data visualization services for our clients, from tailored financial dashboards to client-branded graphics and data extraction and transformation services. And even better yet, for those of you who might want to work at YPTC, the data visualization group doesn't just provide this service to our clients, they also train our staff to become proficient in this technology themselves. And having those kinds of skills as an accountant these days, or anybody else in the finance or business world, it's a really great thing to have on your resume. Now, YPTC is also on the cutting edge of a new frontier in accounting tech, which is automation and AI. So, for example, we recently unveiled Delta, which is our very own proprietary AI-driven financial reporting tool that really kind of revolutionizes our ability to produce month-end reports for clients. It makes reporting more efficient and more cost-effective and allows our staff to gain deeper insights into client financial data. And again, I cannot highlight strongly enough the importance of learning these kinds of accounting software programs with automation and AI. This is what the accountants of the future are going to be using. And I'll add that as this tech continues to develop, our training department ensures that our staff stay up to date. So for example, we have annual block trainings where everybody at the company blocks off their calendar for a whole day. We offer customized learning modules for a huge variety of different topics. Big library of internal and external resources, all to make sure that our staff are equipped with the tools they need to support our clients effectively. And on that note, we happen to have somebody here who does support our clients. So let's hear a little bit more from Rachel about her career journey.
Thanks, Dalton. Um, excuse me. My career has taken a little bit of a twisted path. I graduated from college with an accounting degree and went to work in public accounting. I had clients ranging from locally owned restaurant group to a huge multinational publicly traded company. I worked in public accounting for 4 years, and then I went back to get my MBA, after which I worked in marketing and strategy for several years. Then I had kids, and I took a pretty long career break. And when I returned to work, I returned to the world of accounting. I had a few jobs as the controller for a marketing agency and for a local family-owned business, not my family, but a family-owned business. And then the owner sold that business, and I spent a few years doing contract work. I did contract work for a large insurance company, which made me realize I don't want to work for a large insurance company. And then I finally had a contract with my state's Humane Society. And, accounting is accounting, but I thought it was pretty cool that I was doing accounting to support this organization that was all about animal welfare, and, getting pets in homes, making sure they're spayed or neuter. And by doing the work I was doing, I felt like I was supporting their cause. And while I was working on that contract, LinkedIn, YPTC popped up, and I saw the jobs they were offering. I was like, oh, that looks interesting. So I did some research and applied, and I made it through our interview process. And here I am today. And 2 years later, I'm still here. I can genuinely say that I love my job. There's a lot of reasons why I like working for YPTC. I mean, obviously, it's my clients. I mentioned that I like the fact that they're doing things to make the world a better place. But there's more than that. YPTC hires great people. Everyone is smart. Everyone's really nice. Everyone's willing to help. And there's so many ways to get help if you have a question about how to do something on a client. With as many staff and clients as we have, chances are that someone has run into an issue similar to what you're running into. I mean, things like, and we have so many ways to get it. We have, I'm sure some of you are familiar with Microsoft Teams. We have something called Ask YPTC. You can reach out to a manager or a peer who has had the same experience. Another thing is that we have a lot of flexibility and independence while we're part of this larger team. I'm the associate, so I'm responsible for the day-to-day relationship with my clients. I'm the primary contact, and I try to keep a schedule. I work on this client on Tuesdays and this client on Wednesdays. But at the same time, we're all professionals, and I can manage my schedule to accommodate my needs. So if I need to be out of the office or have a doctor's appointment, I can work with my client and reschedule. While like I said, I try to keep a schedule, I can manage when I quote, quote, go to my clients, since going to just involves logging into a different accounting system. Um, Another thing, and I think Dalton might have touched on this, is as part of our culture is that YPTC really cares about its employees and that we're dedicated to work-life balance. One thing that is very unique to this place, as opposed to any other accounting firm or most businesses, is that we have a standard 7-hour workday. We are offered tons of opportunities for professional development, both internally and externally. And externally, we're offered up to, it actually just increased up to 28 hours a year to to pursue external professional development, whether they're, and it can be on anything. It can be about accounting topics. It can be presentation skills. I've done some work with Excel. So there's all sorts of choices. Um, I will also add, I'm a part-time controller, but so I don't get benefits, but the benefits that we have, from what I understand, are best in class benefits. I've actually thought about going full-time just to get the benefits. Um, on top of that, there are so many opportunities to get involved beyond just serving your clients. You don't have to, but if you want to, you can. You can be, I'm here doing recruiting with Dalton, because I expressed an interest in it. You can get involved with the data visualization group. There's people who've started doing a lot on their clients and then have moved over to that group or spend part-time there. We have a big quality control group. We have an equity committee that both Dalton and I are going to start serving on later this month. And we have vertical specializations on so many different types of nonprofits that you could be a part of. And last but not least, all of these things that I mentioned, they add up to that culture is extremely important. As we've become more geographically dispersed, the firm is really focused on keeping that culture. I know we're on time here, but I'll just throw out one thing. We have an annual awards ceremony that everybody in the organization logs into for 2 or 3 hours in December. And there's all sorts of awards, from crazy client stories to like the most prestigious, which is being the mentor of the year, because mentorship and developing professionals is really important.
Absolutely. Thank you, Rachel. And I love your just kind of hearing about your career journey, because you highlighted a couple of things in particular that I love talking about when it comes to opportunities at YPTC. I mean, of course, the rewarding aspect of working with nonprofits, the flexible scheduling, the work-life balance, and those are all things we'll talk about a little bit more in the next few minutes. But I'm glad you brought up the verticals as well. So everybody, vertical specializations are areas within the nonprofit industry that we're developing more robust, tailored services for. And for example, Rachel mentioned earlier that she worked for an animal welfare organization. We have a vertical department for that. It specializes in shelters, humane organizations, animal welfare organizations. Some of the other verticals include, education, arts and culture, performing arts. So if there's one area of the nonprofit world that you're particularly passionate about, there may be opportunities at YPTC to get directly involved with working with those kinds of organizations. So really excited to see how these vertical specializations develop over the next few years. Now, one thing that we've kind of touched on a little bit already that I want to come back to um, is really the kind of the benefits of working in nonprofit accounting specifically, because I think unfortunately this is a topic that's kind of overlooked a lot of the time in accounting curriculums or in just conversations about accounting careers in general. So one advantage of working for a nonprofit organization, of course, is that it's very rewarding. Working for a mission-driven organization means that you are directly and positively impacting communities, both locally and nationally, rather than just generating profit. And on that note, nonprofits also tend to have more kind of people-oriented cultures where employees are passionate about the mission of their organizations. And when everybody is really focused on helping, that carries across the internal culture and how people treat each other, as Rachel was just saying. It's also worth noting that working at a nonprofit organization can sometimes give you opportunities to work with high-level executives. So, for example, many private for-profit companies don't have boards of directors, while nearly all nonprofit organizations do have boards of directors. And that chance to work with a board is a huge resume builder. It's something that a lot of people don't get the chance to do. And because nonprofits are often smaller organizations, there's often a better chance that you'll be able to work closely with senior management, like executive directors. Finally, keep in mind that nonprofit accounting experience is also an uncommon and often valued skill set. This means that a position in nonprofit accounting, that experience can sometimes make you a more desirable candidate for future positions, especially if you plan to pursue independent consulting or public accounting. And Rachel, I will bring it back to you to talk a little bit more about careers at YPTC.
Okay, thank you, Dalton. We've talked about the benefits of working at nonprofits in general, and now I'm going to talk about some of the benefits about working at YPTC, a career here, and specifically. Dalton mentioned that, and I've mentioned that working at a nonprofit means you're making an impact. So working at YPTC means you're making an impact for multiple organizations and communities at once. We're passionate about working with nonprofits. It's one of the most important reasons why people join our firm and why they stay here. I also had mentioned before that our management has really prioritized work-life balance for our staff. That's one of the biggest complaints you hear about working for an accounting firm in general. So this is really a rarity. I mentioned the 7-hour workday, which is a 35-hour full-time work week. But on top of that, our associates and our staff accountants are non-exempt, which means you are compensated for overtime. It does happen sometimes just based on deadlines. Right now this was 1099 season just ended. But if you're working a lot of overtime, your check-in manager will be like, what's going on? Do we need to change your schedule or is this a blip? Um, we also offer part-time positions. I myself am part-time. And part-time isn't just, accepted, it's really valued. And there's still opportunities for advancement and getting involved in things outside of your client work if that's what you want to do. I almost never feel pressured to work more than my agreed upon schedule. I in our notes here it says never, but this is the real world. So I'll say almost, I rarely feel pressured to work more than my agreed upon schedule. Um, one other I've mentioned before benefit of working at YPTC is our focus on professional development. We have a ton of internal training opportunities with CPE credit. We generally have quarterly staff meetings and block trainings that at least have an hour or two of CPE. We also offer that time for external CPE credit, and we get reimbursed for the cost of external classes that we take. We have a budget each year that we're allowed to do that. And by working with multiple clients, you build your skill set because you take what you learn at one client and can apply it at another. I also had mentioned our peer support network. It is huge and it is fantastic. Um, I asked for help the other day about, I had a client who, if you guys are familiar with the 1099 process, you need all your clients to have W-9 so you can know who they need to be sent to. My client, was scrambling to get them at the end of the year. So they're like, well, I said, you guys should implement a policy that you won't pay a vendor until you get a W-9. And so they're like, well, can you find one, the wording for one? And I asked, and literally within an hour, I had someone saying, oh, I have one I'm working on. I'll send you the verbiage. It was great, saves a ton of time. And finally, as Dalton has mentioned, we are growing rapidly. Rapid growth gives opportunities for career advancement. Dalton mentioned that we have now 11 offices. I had said 10 earlier, but we're looking for leaders who want to open new markets. We've been around for 30 years and we're still expanding and still growing at fast rates. And we need talented people and new ideas to keep that growth and keep our success going.
Thank you, Rachel. And on that note, I'd love to share a little information about what we look for in accounting professionals. Now, first off, I do want to highlight the fact that we do not have entry-level positions or internships available at the moment. We are in the process of planning entry-level roles to begin, hopefully in 2025. However, even if you don't meet our requirements right now, we are hoping it will be worthwhile to let you know about opportunities at YPTC at this point in advance. If you are studying accounting, finance, business, whatever the case may be, keep in mind that your accounting skills are very valuable. especially as we are experiencing a nationwide accountant shortage right now. So we would love for you to keep YPTC in mind for the future. In terms of the positions we are offering right now, staff accountants and controllers, or associates like Rachel, as we refer to them internally, these two positions make up the vast majority of staff at YPTC. We are hiring for both of these positions currently on a very large scale nationwide. And thanks to our flexible YPTC Anywhere model, you can work for us from anywhere in the US without relocating. Now, for our staff accountant role, we require a minimum of 3 years relevant experience with transactional accounting and Excel experience. Preferred but not required skills include nonprofit accounting experience, QuickBooks proficiency, and multi client accounting experience, such as consulting or public accounting. We're also typically looking for candidates with a well rounded accounting skill set, including experience with payables or receivables, journal entries, account reconciliations, and payroll. Now, for the controller role, we're typically looking for very experienced candidates with 7 to 10 years of progressive accounting experience, primarily at the controller level. We're also looking for supervisory experience, of course, and as with the staff accountant role, we prefer but do not require nonprofit and or multi-client accounting experience. For both positions, we do require a completed bachelor's degree, preferably in accounting or finance. And we do also have positions outside of accounting, of course, though we don't have time to discuss those positions at the moment. Again, please keep in mind that even if some of you don't meet these requirements right now, we would absolutely love to connect with you in the future as YPTC continues to grow. Remember that our opportunities offer many things that other accounting roles don't: work-life balance, very wide-ranging professional development opportunities, and the ability to make a positive impact by supporting mission-driven organizations. Now, if that all sounds great to you and you're interested in keeping in touch with YPTC, here are the next steps. And actually, let me stop here for a moment. Normally, I would ask folks to use this QR code and sign up for our mailing list. You can still do that if you like, but in this case, I believe I will be getting all of your contact information from RJ. So I'll email everybody after the presentation with a link to sign up for our mailing list, as well as a link to our application submission page if you're interested in applying for one of our open roles. If you do sign up for the mailing list, it's a great way to stay updated about YPTC. You'll receive invitations to our professional development webinars and updates on our hiring. And if you choose to submit your resume as well, that's great because that will actually allow us to proactively consider your candidacy for new positions that might arise. So let's say we create a new role. We can use our system to look through resumes. And if we come across one that's a good fit for you, if you've signed up, we can reach out to you and let you know. Next, please go ahead and follow us on social media. You can find us on LinkedIn, Twitter, or I guess X as it's called now, as well as Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. We are on TikTok, and I keep forgetting to add that little picture to this slide. But yeah, you can find us on TikTok as well. All right. And I'd just like to thank everybody for attending our presentation today. Rachel and I hope that the information about YPTC and about nonprofit accounting in general was useful for you all as you consider your next career moves. So as I mentioned earlier, I'll be your point of contact at YPTC. So please feel free to take down my contact information here if you'd like to follow up with any questions. And at this point, Rachel and I are happy to answer any questions you all might have.
Well, I'll start. Thank you, Dawn. Thank you, Rachel, for sharing this information. Just a reminder to everyone, you can take yourselves off mute now. So if you did want to ask a question, feel free to do that. Or if you'd prefer to post them in the chat, you can certainly do that as well, whatever you are most comfortable with. But I'll give people a minute or two to think about some of the questions. One thing I'll start off with, especially for those that do have some accounting experience that might be interested in applying. do you have any advice, recommendations for those individuals? Maybe it's on their resume, maybe it's during the interview process that you've seen in the past that really jumped out to you with potential candidates. Is there anything in particular that really stands out as you're going through and reviewing potential candidates?
Absolutely. Thank you for that, RJ. I mean, frankly, I could give an entire additional webinar, maybe a couple, on my advice for the application and interview. In fact, I think I have given a webinar on that in the past. But a couple of things I would recommend specific to YPTC. We take a close look at the cover letters that candidates write, and I know that's not the most popular position, but the thing is, our accountants need to write detailed financial reports for board of directors, for executive directors of our clients. So it's important that we get a good sense of your writing ability. So I would highly recommend that if you submit an application to YPTC, or really any company that does something similar, I would take even just a couple of minutes to personalize your cover letter a little bit, because that kind of demonstrated interest as well as your writing ability, if that looks good, that can go a long way with your application. And frankly, sometimes if we're on the fence about a candidate, we may use that writing to make a decision. So that's my biggest piece of advice is, personalize your cover letter. Of course, make sure to proofread and edit both your cover letter and your resume. Update your resume. Employers don't really like to see outdated ones. And then the last piece of advice I'll add is, similar to the cover letter, a little bit of interview preparation can go a long way. For us recruiters, we take note of, how much it seems like you're interested in the position and also how much you know about it. I'm not saying that you need to be an expert on YPTC if you apply for one of our positions. Okay. You don't need to know our company backwards and forwards. But if you're able to demonstrate, that you saw something about us specific that excited you, maybe it's the nonprofit accounting, maybe it's, learning new skills as a result of our professional development, something like that can go a long way. So that's all pretty basic advice, but really I can't highlight strongly enough the importance of those things. So I'll leave that there.
Thank you for that.
Could you give us an idea of what systems your clients use? Are they all onboarded onto the same systems, or are you working across different platforms?
Rachel, do you want to take this one?
I was just going to say I can take that one. I would say I don't know the percentage, but a large portion of our clients are on QuickBooks Online. A lot of them, but we also have clients that are on, if you're familiar with Financial Edge, MIP. I mean, there's some, I'm trying to think what else. That covers all of my clients, but I've seen other systems out there in Teams and stuff that people ask about. But I think it's something from 60 to 80% of our clients are on QuickBooks Online. But it really is kind of then all other systems are out there being used. And some accounting firms will then say, okay, we run your QuickBooks Online and we own the data, but we don't. Our clients own the data and we are invited to log in as an accountant to their system, to whatever system they're using.
Thank you, Rachel. Yeah, and you were right on the money there. 70% of our clients
Oh.
use QuickBooks. And I'll add that, for those of you who aren't familiar with QuickBooks, as I mentioned earlier, it's a preferred skill set for candidates, but it's not required. And if you have never used it before, we actually offer a small certification bonus, a couple of $100 if you get certified in QuickBooks within your first month of employment. And I'll add, that's also a really important skill to have. I mean, QuickBooks is taking a larger and larger market share these days, with kind of small to medium-sized business accounting platforms. So QuickBooks, I think, will continue to be a very important skill.
I have a question. Rachel had mentioned that she had worked previously as a controller. I myself have just worked in public accounting previously, but would it be advantageous if you wanted to work, you didn't have any experience as a controller, but you had experience working with controllers and CFOs to get that controller position?
So I'll say that, of course, we evaluate every application on a case by case basis. Typically, for the controller position, we are looking for controller level experience, but that's not necessarily always the case. And actually, I'm glad you brought up public accounting in particular, because that's a great example. If you're coming out of public accounting, you may not have a lot of hands on experience with actually doing payables and receivables, payroll, stuff like that yourself, but you've been around it, you've audited those things. Maybe you've supervised staff who are doing those things. So we do consider public accounting to be relevant experience, especially if you've been working with nonprofits, of course.
Okay.
And again, I'm happy to answer any more questions, about your experience more specifically. So you should definitely feel free to reach out if you want to chat more about this. And RJ, I'm still in the slideshow right now, so I can't see if any other questions are popping up. Just give me a heads up.
Yeah, will do if there's any that pop up in the chat. I'll give people another minute or two if you did want to post those into the chat, or feel free to take yourself off mute and ask questions.
Thanks, RJ.
I had a question. This is Christy, for Dalton or Rachel. And thank you for taking time to share all this information and learn about your part-time controller. I hadn't heard of you guys before, so this is great. For those that may be looking at a career change or transition, what types of transferable skills would you look for? So for instance, I've done a lot of work in Excel, a lot of numbers type thing, personally have an MBA, but maybe not necessarily had the specific accounting roles. What kind of path would you recommend if I was looking at transitioning into more of the accounting and controlling world?
Rachel, do you want to answer this? I'm happy to answer. I just, again, can't see, so I figured I would ask if you had anything you were going to say first.
Right. I mean, the main thing I'd say is like obviously, and Dalton can speak more to what they are looking for when they screen resumes. But from my perspective, is something that can demonstrate that you have an understanding of accounting and financial reporting. And a big part of our role, a lot of it's not that hard to create financial statements, but interpreting that financial data and making it make sense and tell a story to the management, that's an important skill. So being able to highlight that you know how to interpret results and make it tell a story to people without a financial background is a extremely valuable skill.
Okay, excellent.
Absolutely. I agree with Rachel 100%. And I'll add that, I think we get applications sometimes from folks who, took a career break. Maybe that was to raise a family, maybe that was for other personal reasons, or maybe they went into a different line of work for a couple of years. And what I usually see is that these folks, when they want to pivot back into accounting, they'll take some time to do a little extra training. The MBA is great. I'm sure that you must have taken accounting classes while in that program of study. And other things that I see candidates doing, they might do some online trainings in QuickBooks. You brought up Excel. That's a great skill to have across a lot of different kind of sectors of the finance industry. In particular with Excel, some of the skills that we look for are pivot tables, V, H, or X lookups. And then, as I also mentioned earlier, automation, data visualization software, Power BI, Tableau, Power Automate, Power Query. If you're able to do some training, even just self-study on those things, that'll look good on your resume too. So I think, it'll be important for you to demonstrate that you're, investing yourself in learning more about accounting, especially tech and accounting, because again, that's where the focus is right now. So I think if you're able to do that, that will be helpful in finding an accounting position.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you for that insight.
Of course, my pleasure.
Hey, Dalton, there is a question online from Megan mentioning there may be internship opportunities in the future. Where will they be located and available? Handshake, college event registration, our website.
So I can't speak to internship opportunities, but as I mentioned earlier, we are hoping to plan some entry level roles that would be offered in 2025. When that happens, it will be all over the place. We'll put them up on Handshake, of course, as well as on, the big job platforms. The other thing is that I mentioned earlier, I'll be sending everybody a link that you can use to sign up for our talent community mailing list. That mailing list will keep you updated about our hiring. So if we launch something big like, a new entry level role, we'll be sure to blast out that information. So make sure to sign up for the mailing list that I'll send you. Yeah, and I think that's really the extent of kind of what we're planning for right now. But yeah, we are hoping to roll those out in the future.
She said thank you.
Ah, you're very welcome. And in fact, you know what, I think everybody, I assume, has gotten my my contact information. So I'm just gonna jump out of screen share here. All right. Any other questions that have come up? Awesome. Well,
I will say just thank you both, Dalton and Rachel, for jumping in today. We certainly appreciate it. Obviously, with our populations being 100% remote here, these opportunities are certainly very intriguing for both our students and alumni. We thank you both for jumping in and sharing. I don't see any other questions in the chat. I don't know if you had any closing remarks that you wanted to make, but certainly I'll give you that floor.
thank you again, RJ. I'm really glad that Rachel and I had the opportunity to speak to you all. I want to add that on a personal note, for my bachelor's degree, I attended a very progressive college that focused on project-based learning. So the pedagogy at WGU really appeals to me. I think the mastery-based learning, project-based, focus on real-world experiences, I appreciate that on a personal level. I'm a big fan of your university. So I'm really excited to keep partnering with WGU, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you all as well. So as I mentioned earlier, please don't hesitate to reach out if you have more questions about YPTC, and I'll be following up with you all shortly with more information. So thank you again, everybody, for joining us.
Awesome. And just a reminder to everyone, this session was recorded. So you will be getting that recording sometime this afternoon. So definitely keep an eye out for that with the questionnaire. Thank you, both Dalton and Rachel. Again, we greatly appreciate you jumping in, and hopefully everyone was able to take something away. And hopefully there's an interest there for YPTC. But for everyone that's jumping in, like I said, this was our last quest session. So I'm glad that we ended on a good note here, and appreciate everybody jumping in. But everyone have a great rest of your day, and early enjoy the weekend here. All right, everyone, take care.
Thanks, RJ.
Thank you.
Thank you.